Can we instantaneously traverse the universe? Light is electromagnetic energy, and it permeates throughout the universe. So because the qualities of the mind and light are similar, and because the universe is entirely interconnected by electromagnetic waves, traversing instantaneously is simply a matter of thought. How can this knowledge help to improve society? If a man knows who he really is, he will never have self-generated problems. Whatever problems he may have, he will always know how and where to find the solutions. For if he understands that the judgment of God is his own works, he will do his best in order to hope for a glorious resurrection. Otherwise, he will be a threat to himself and to everybody else. Is the prophet the leader of the church, or has he been chosen to help us to understand the leader? Who should we serve, the arm of flesh or God? The church, like the government, has been established to serve the people. But should the people rely upon the church or the government to serve them without being agents to themselves? Is it time for us to listen to the cries of those who are concerned about ecological matters? Is it time for us to live so that we are not contributing to these problems? Is it time for us to consider the virtual I should say also the literal establishment of Zion? A final thought. Children are not given to us to be made like unto us. They are given to us to remind us who we really are. They already know who they are. Phase 4. Okay, this is the Ark of the Covenant diagram of two ancient cultures. This particular culture with this particular diagram is the Hebrew, and in this particular diagram there's it's filled with psychological vocabulary, and if you want to know the in-depth description of the psyche, you can go ahead and look up these words and study this particular diagram to see the intricacies of the Kabbalah and how it is organized to help us to understand anything we desire to understand. And on the reverse side of this particular sheet is the 3 circles, and I call it the Hawaiian version of the psyche. And the 3 circles is celestial, terrestrial, and telestial, which is the 3 degrees of glory. You can equate the 3 degrees of glory to the 3 levels of the mind, which I have done, which is the celestial being the superego, and the collective unconscious, and the Aumakua in Hawaiian. And this is what gave me the idea that these 3 circles represented the 3 levels of the mind, was after studying Hawaiiana and the knowledge of the kahunas, I was able to come up with equating the 3 degrees of glory with the 3 levels of the mind. The terrestrial kingdom is associated with the ego, or the conscious, or in Hawaiian, the uhane. In the telestial kingdom is associated with the id, or the subconscious, and the subconscious because it is below the conscious self. And in Hawaiian, the unihipili. Now, as I present the phase 3, or I should say phase 8 to you in part 2, you will see as you connect it with this particular phase, phase 8, or Sapphire number 3, Bina, is the Ark of the Covenant, part 2. This is the initial phase, describing the 3 levels of the mind, and you will understand it better when we get to that phase in part 2. And in the chapter and verse, Luke chapter 17, verses 20 to 21, if you read that passage, you will find the connection between the 3 degrees of glory and how it is associated with the mind. At least I would hope that you would. Mind you, this knowledge is only for those who maintains an open mind. Okay, we go on to phase 5. And phase 5 is the invitation to be born again. And I'll go ahead and read that to you at this time. And now behold, I ask of you, my brethren of the church, have ye spiritually been born of God? Have ye received His image in your countenances? Have ye experienced this mighty change in your hearts? And that's taken from Alma chapter 5, verse 14. And he said, go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire a still small voice. 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 to 12. And from my own personal experiences with the above passage, I expand. I have studied many books, including the scriptures, many times, but the Lord was not in any of these books. I have said my prayers for many years, every single day and night, but the Lord was not in my prayers. I have also attended church and temple faithfully and consistently for many years, but the Lord was not in any of these edifices, but only after His own will and mind, and according to His own timetable, He made His presence known to me by a still small voice. This is the reality of God. God asks us to be still and know that I am. We cannot really know who God is by busying ourselves by extracurricular activities, and I call everything else but the still small voice as extracurricular activities. We may think that we're getting close to God with all these extracurricular activities, but in reality, are we trying to run away from Him in busying ourselves with all these other things? The truth lies within. Like I say earlier, we know the truth already. And we have our own way to achieve the truth and to live the truth. And each and every one of us, if we really want to make a difference in society and truly bring about the era of peace, we have to go within. As we approach the new millennium, we also approach the time when the earth will be born again. Therefore, thus saith the Lord to you, my servant, John Doe, John, Jane, Mary, whatever, come to me. Your brother in the Lord, Wayne Hiram. So that's the letter of invitation to be born again. If you sign your name on this particular sheet, you're committing yourself to being born again. And